to review a concept that came up on a call with Katie today, Katie Capone. The idea of making up our minds that something is either not possible or something's not probable or practical. Probably probable, like not likely. Usually I do believe we make up our mind that, hey, yeah, something's possible, but it's not likely for me. And so the way we get to be right about that is we don't have a plan. So that's usually what's missing. When I say a plan, it's a series of action steps to accomplish that which we think is really not probable. And there's no coincidence that we don't allow ourselves to, there's no coincidence that we don't have a plan. The fact that we don't have a plan is not a coincidence. And that's just our way of being right and about keeping it hard, or keeping the, what we're looking to accomplish, keeping it in in the zone of not being very practical or probable. And so I was like, well, why don't you come up with a plan? And the idea, or I said, why don't you make up your mind that you'll do it, and it is possible. She's like, well, I got to have a plan first. I go, that's a common pitfall that most of us have, and I've experienced. It's impacted me, which is that I almost need a plan first. I almost need to believe before I declare that I'm going to do something, because, and this goes back to avoiding failure, because I don't want to say I'm going to do something if I'm not sure if I'm going to do it. But here's the problem, so we're relying on a plan being created. We're relying on this belief that there's a system that works before we say we're going to do something. But the action to actually create the plan will only exist if we've already made up our mind that it's possible we will do it. So I guess that would be like a catch-22 type of thing. So I just said, let's rewire ourselves, let's change our, the way we work, and let's make up our minds first, even if we don't have a plan. So let's decide that it's possible, decide that it's practical, decide that the probability is high, and then create the plan. And the idea is, as we're creating the plan, it's to kind of play along with ourselves almost. And as we're creating the plan and writing down action steps, obviously will strengthen the decision that it's possible, and the decision that it's probable will get strengthened. Now, the key for me, at least, and what I was offering her, was that when I come up with a plan and a list of action steps, I got to allow myself to be almost idealistic, allow myself to kind of have have it be a fun game, let my imagination run a little bit. See, if I'm being reasonable as I'm coming up with a list of action steps, I end up giving a reason why, that's not likely. Oh, yeah, I really can't do that. And I'm sitting there crossing off things that I could be doing, or action steps, or, not even putting them down on paper to begin with. And not putting them on a paper is more of the same thing, and it's more of the issue. It's just, again, it's just more of me being right about it not being likely that I can hit the goal. So I have to fight through that and say, all right, just put it on paper. Let me make a list of this, list of that. Even if the ordinary person would view that as yeah, right, you can't do that, I'm still going to put it on paper. Why not? And the idea is, as I'm writing down these actions, write down the action steps, this is my way of being right about it now being possible, and that I am going to do it, and it is highly probable as long as I have a plan in place and I'm going to execute it properly. So, summing that all up, the idea is let's make up our mind about something. Let's decide to do something. Let's commit to something before the plan is even in place. And just predict it. And we have nothing to lose, because, again, this concept of failure doesn't mean anything. It's not a big deal. Well, that's another cool thing that came up, is that if we already conclude something's not possible, we won't take action. We just won't achieve it. And we're going to, so now if we go after it and don't achieve it, the point is we're in the same place. There's nothing to lose, because if I hadn't gone after the goal to begin with, and I hadn't created a plan, I hadn't executed it, I wouldn't have accomplished it anyway. So it's funny, it's we're afraid of failing, and we're afraid of not hitting the goal, but obviously if we don't go after it to begin with, we're definitely not going to hit. And that's that whole Wayne Gretzky thing, you miss 100% of shots you never take. So I just put the spin on it that we really have nothing to lose by going after something. It's not like it takes anything away. It's not like our current situation is going to be, it's not like we're going to be hindered or hurt in some way. inevitably we'll just be where we started and not have the goal or the project get accomplished or fulfilled. So, and another big pointer is just pay attention to the impact that it has on other people around us, whatever that goal is. I'm keeping this general so we can apply this to a bunch of stuff in our lives versus being focused on one specific thing. But whatever it is that we're thinking or leaning in the direction of that is not possible or not probable, just consider by us being mature enough and strong enough to be able to view it as possible. Think about what that brings other people. Getting a business off the ground will actually offer jobs to more people, will impact the heck out of our current economic crisis. I almost want to stop calling it a crisis because it just becomes a set prediction then. The current economic situation with the unemployment rate, the way to increase employment is to have more people, create more businesses, employ more people work harder. Then the whole mood of the country switches over to, okay, it is possible, we're on an upswing. That would be really what we're looking for, is for everybody to make up their minds we're on an upswing, and then we all go to work on being right about it. So we'll figure this whole thing out together. Anyway, I'll end on that note. Make the decision, even if, there's nothing that the ordinary person would say is leaning in the direction, or, make the decision to do something even if, you have nothing that's really telling you that it's possible, all right? Because then you'll go to work on making it possible by taking the action steps to create the plan. Have fun.